On February 2, 1980, in Midland, Texas, 19-year-old Kristy Lynne Booth went out for what was supposed to be a routine night with friends. It was a Saturday evening, the kind of night many young adults spent socializing at local clubs, unwinding after a long week. By the end of that night, Kristy Booth was gone. More than 4 decades later, her disappearance remains one of Midland's most enduring unresolved cases, a missing person mystery defined by unanswered questions, abandoned belongings, and a vehicle that tells a troubling story of unexplained movement. This is the case of Kristy Lynne Booth. Welcome to Fatal Secrets of True Crime. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Kristy Lynne Booth, sometimes referred to as Chris, was 19 years old at the time she went missing. She stood approximately 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighed around 115 pounds. She had brown hair, blue eyes, pierced ears, and a dimple on her left cheek. She also had a distinctive birthmark on the right side of her abdomen. Kristy lived with her family in Midland, Texas. She had graduated from Robert E. Lee High School, where she participated in activities such as the Art Club and Future Homemakers of America. At the time, she was working as a cocktail waitress at a local establishment called The Great Gatsby. There were no known indications that Kristy was planning to leave town, step away from her life, or disconnect from her family. She was working, living at home, and maintaining a normal routine. Nothing about her circumstances suggested she was preparing for a sudden disappearance. On the evening of February 2, 1980, Kristy went to the Dimensions nightclub, a now-closed venue located on Air Park Road in Midland. The club was popular at the time, especially among young adults in the area. At some point during the night, Kristy became separated from her friends. Later, it became clear that she had vanished. What immediately raised concern was what she left behind. Kristy's coat was still inside the club, so were her shoes. Her purse was also left behind. Temperatures that night were below freezing, making it extremely unlikely she would have voluntarily walked away barefoot and without a coat, especially if she intended to go anywhere for more than a few minutes. Those details suggest that if Kristy left the club on her own, she likely believed she would return quickly. Or she never intended to leave at all. Witness accounts indicate that she was discovered missing sometime between 11 o'clock and 11:30 p.m., that narrow window, between the last confirmed sighting inside the club and the moment her absence was noticed, has become one of the most critical gaps in the entire case. Kristy had arrived at the club in her AMC Pacer. 2 days later, on February 4, 1980, that vehicle was found abandoned south of Midland along State Highway 349. Also known as Rankin Highway. The car was operable. There were no immediate signs that it had been disabled or damaged. But investigators discovered something deeply troubling. The vehicle had accumulated approximately 268 miles that could not be accounted for. That number alone reshaped the investigation. 268 miles is not a short drive. It represents hours on the road, potentially crossing county lines, stopping in multiple locations, or traveling well beyond Midland. Investigators were unable to determine who drove the car during that time, where it went, or why it ended up abandoned where it was found. The car's location raised additional questions. Was it left there intentionally? Was it meant to delay discovery? Or was it simply abandoned once it had served its purpose? The answers to those questions remain unknown. Another factor that complicated the investigation was the delay in reporting Kristy missing. She was not reported missing immediately. Several days passed before authorities were formally notified. In missing person cases, time is critical. Delays can result in lost witness memories, missed opportunities to preserve physical evidence, and an inability to accurately reconstruct timelines. By the time Kristy's disappearance was officially reported, the window for early investigative momentum had already closed. Even so, law enforcement pursued leads and followed available information as the case developed. Early in the investigation, attention turned to individuals who were known to have been with Kristy that night. One individual mentioned in public case summaries is a male acquaintance who had access to Kristy's vehicle. He was considered a person of interest during the early stages of the investigation, underwent a polygraph examination, and was later ruled out. He has since passed away. No charges were ever filed, and no individual has been publicly named as responsible for Kristy's disappearance. Kristy Lynne Booth's case remains unresolved, but it has never been closed. Authorities have stated that they believe outside involvement occurred. Her disappearance is not believed to be voluntary. The combination of factors, her belongings left behind, the freezing temperatures, the narrow timeline, and the unexplained movement of her vehicle, suggests that something went wrong very quickly and very unexpectedly. Cases like this often depend on a single missing detail. A conversation someone overheard but dismissed. A vehicle someone remembers seeing but never mentioned. Or information someone chose not to share at the time. As years pass, loyalties change, perspectives shift, and people sometimes feel able to speak when they could not before. Kristy Booth was 19 years old when she vanished from a crowded nightclub in Midland, Texas. She left behind her family, her routine, and a future that was never allowed to unfold. Her case stands as a reminder that some disappearances do not begin in isolation or remote areas, but in familiar places, surrounded by people, during ordinary moments. Someone knows what happened to Kristy Lynne Booth. And until that truth is brought into the open, her disappearance remains one of Texas's haunting, unresolved missing person cases.
Thank you for watching Fatal Secrets of True Crime, Real Crimes, Hidden Truths, and the Secrets They Tried to Bury. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these stories alive and the pressure on for answers. Till next time, remember, every secret eventually comes to light.